Hello, I hope you're doing well. Welcome back to my favorite CSGO series, slowly becoming a series on this channel. If you guys have any ideas for what we can actually call this besides just CSGO news, but if you are new here, this is episode 3 of community drama out there, the first of which was Smooya versus Refrez. You guys chose those winners, and just recently as well, just a couple days ago, it was JW versus Taco. You guys decided those winners, and for the first time ever for episode 3, we have a CEO of a CSGO organization currently trying to be sold, that being Windigo CEO Maxim versus one of his former players, that being Spellan. If you guys do not know, I leave 2 comments down below, and at the end of the episode, who you think won, you hit the like button on that comment. So I hope you guys all enjoy. Let's break it down, because it was actually just yesterday Spellan took to Twitter with this twit longer trying to explain a situation he had when he played for Windigo. To give you guys a TLDR of that initial exchange, it was actually Spellan coming forward and saying he had not been paid for the 8 months he was actually benched on that roster, and he was not paid any salary for the last few months he had actually played for their main roster. So not paid when he was benched and not paid when he was playing for them. Alongside that, some outstanding tournament fees he apparently had not been paid from the roster. He also makes some other accusations out there about how the CEO apparently didn't pay B Pro. That's the former team who had Poison. Poison, of course, joining Windigo as one of their standout players he became, and definitely rose with that roster. Apparently, he actually accused Maxim of not paying B Pro for Poison, and some other things, some other accusations out there as well. All in all, apparently really not being paid, and the very last accusation he did make is that apparently his buyout was actually set way too high, and that's why Spellan could not go and play for anyone else while he was benched with Windigo. So the initial responses back and forth, it was actually Maxim, our key CEO, Windigo, his target here. His response as well initially was to take it to court. If he had any proof, he would gladly take him to court. And his second response is where it gets a bit like, oh man, he went back and he did it, guys. A grown man, a CEO of a CSGO organization said, proof it. Classic Bulgarian misstep there, because it's prove it, but either way, we know what he was trying to say. He says, proof it or I kill you, and within minutes, his Twitter was suspended, and the argument has now been taken to Reddit, guys. His official response was actually posted just late last night, and I'll break it down for all of you. The Spellan versus Windigo CEO argument, guys. Remember to choose the victor at the end of the episode. That's the initial argument, but let's break down Maxim, who posted to Reddit a very detailed post about what Spellan did wrong. So point 1, according to Maxim, in January, it was actually Spellan who had asked for 1,500 euros to make himself or buy himself a PC at home. He already had one he could use with the team. He wanted a separate one to use at his own personal flat. The team agreed to pay this ahead of time or pay the money up front. In return, they'd actually, of course, give him the PC or buy it, and they'd be repaid by actually taking a portion of Spellan's earnings from the future tournaments. And they both agreed upon that. According to Maxim, there was a partnership, and Spellan was made aware of these, of course, terms. Now, also point 2 and 3 kind of combined here. Maxim goes off and lists a full detail of events the team did attend, both with Spellan and without, or actually the events he was paid for. He lists off the event prize pools the team won, and Spellan's portion he won with that. And this is also where he counters one of Spellan's first arguments, where he had a few events he was not actually paid for by Windigo. Windigo makes clear here there were a couple of events, one of them being the Good Game League, where they participated in that, and the league has not actually paid Windigo yet. Once Windigo is paid, they will then pay Spellan his full amount. Also, point 4, though, Maxim goes into great detail. Here's the breakdown of his proof, where it almost becomes his side a little bit more believable, because we haven't really seen too much besides words from Spellan. Maxim breaks down some great details here as to actually the month-by-month breakdown of when Spellan was paid and when he was only paid partially of his salary. So we actually saw in February of 2018, it was Spellan who was docked 15% of his pay for a violation of team rules. In May of 2018, he was docked 25% of his pay for the same exact reason. So he actually clarifies as to exactly what this was. We'll talk about that in a second. And he also goes on to clarify where this almost got a bit tricky with the wording. Apparently, it was the rules here. If he wanted to be paid 50%, that being Spellan, of his salary while he was on the bench, he had to actually stream 30 hours per week to be eligible for that 50%. Now, the wording was a bit weird, so I'm going to assume that he had to stream 30 hours a week to actually get his full salary, and if he didn't stream the 30 hours, he was only going to be paid half of his salary. So the team did not have to pay him his full salary for those several months, because he only streamed once between July and January, July of 2018 and January of this year, and so that's why they paid him half of his salary, and that's why Spellan went on to go and say he was actually not paid while he was was benched, even though he was paid, according to Maxim, half his salary because he did not meet the legal requirements to actually get his full salary, that being streaming 30 hours per week. Again, that could be a bit of a language barrier there, so if I interpreted that wrong, maybe I'll get in touch with Maxim and clarify that last point. Either way, they tried to explain why they weren't paying him his full salary while he was benched. And the final nail in the coffin of Maxim's ultimate argument here, he goes and talks about why the team eventually kicked Spellan and why they also docked his pay. Apparently he was very abusive. There were several events where he was drunk, both in front of fans as well as his teammates, and that was a clear violation of team rules, and that's why they docked him for February 15%, and I think it was actually March as well. They docked him 25% of his overall salary because he was violating clear rules. And if you guys want to know, other teams out there, if what he says is true, this abusive relationship was true, that could have been a clear termination from this organization. So them paying him anything was a pretty good sign of good grace there, if what they said is true, because they go on to describe, that being Maxim, what Spellan did do. He was abusive both verbally as well. It seemed mostly verbal so far. Eventually went on to say as well, he didn't want to play with his noob of teammates currently at the time. He could have been playing with teams like FaZe Clan. So a bit of a bold statement. Again, we have to rely on his word if this is actually true what Spellan did say. And the one final straw he mentions here is his actual verbal abuse, that being Spellan towards Maxim. He even called out his teammates' family members as well as their mothers, and joked about the death of their family members and their mothers. Can we just like leave moms alone? Like, moms are so good. And then the final words of this is actually Maxim clarifying that apparently no one wanted to buy out Spellan. That's a counter to Spellan's original point, saying that Maxim set his buyout amount for way too much, and that's why teams would not buy him out. Maxim pretty much just says that no one wanted to buy him out besides one team prospect, and they eventually backed out of that as well. So we're gonna see how this one clears up. Give you guys both sides, and you guys of course vote down below who you think won. We have Spellan, the alleged verbally abusive, as well as the guy who enjoys a drink at CSGO events, and actually the guy who might, if this is all reigns true, he's actually the one that owes the organization money, not the organization owing him money. And then we have Maxim, though. I will say there are definitely missing points. Not only a language barrier, so we can only interpret this so much. We're gonna wait for Sir Scoots, guys. He actually got involved in this Reddit post, so I'm sure he'll clarify the contracts and what was fair. We do have Maxim, though, who never clarified the buyout amount he set for Spellan. So Spellan being at his prime, if he would have been bought out for a cheaper amount, where would he be? We're never going to know because Maxim did not clarify that amount in this argument. Overall, though, you guys can decide. You guys can you could probably assume where I'm leaning towards right now. We have one guy who gave a lot more proof, a lot more detail, and we have Spellan's responses so far kind of just mocking it, saying nice try, and not giving too many details of his own besides a few words. So it's a few words versus a lot of words. Generally, you know which to agree with. But you guys make your own points up, and remember to leave comments down below why you agree with some sides. But as always, I hope you guys all enjoyed episode 3 of the CSGO fight drama community stuff. I don't really know what to call it yet, but I hope you guys all enjoy. I will be back here tomorrow with actual CSGO news, breaking days 1, 2, and 3 down of the major. And let me just tell you guys, holy rip my pick'ems.